Let me ask you something straight and simple. How many times have you started something with passion, only to quit when it got hard? How often do you look in the mirror and say, if only I had stayed consistent, I'd be further by now? Be honest with yourself, because we've all been there. We've all made promises we didn't keep, started plans we didn't finish, dreamed dreams we didn't dare to follow through on. But here's the truth that will shake you out of average. Success doesn't respond to intention, it responds to consistency. You can dream big, speak boldly, and hope deeply, but without consistency, your breakthrough stays locked behind the door of potential. So today, we're not just talking about motivation. We're not just hyping you up for a moment of emotional excitement. We're going deeper than that. We're going after your discipline. We're going after your habits. We're going after the part of you that keeps quitting when it should be conquering. And it all starts with this simple, unshakable truth. Consistency is not flashy. It's not exciting. It doesn't come with applause or public recognition. In fact, it's often the most boring, thankless, invisible part of your journey. And yet, without it, nothing you build will stand. Without consistency, you're just stacking sandcastles, no matter how beautiful they look at first glance. You see, talent may open the door, but only consistency keeps you in the room. Vision gives you a destination, but consistency drives the vehicle. Passion ignites the fire, but consistency keeps the flame burning when the wind howls and the storm rages. If you want greatness in any area of your life, spiritually, mentally, financially, physically, you must be willing to do what others stop doing. You must show up when motivation walks out. Look around at anyone you admire, athletes, entrepreneurs, spiritual leaders, artists. It's not just their gifts that got them where they are. It's the habits they practiced when no one was looking. It's the choices they made when no one was clapping. It's the mornings they got up tired, the nights they stayed faithful, the days they pushed through pain. Greatness is not made in highlights. It's made in routines. We live in a world addicted to speed, comfort, and shortcuts. Everyone wants overnight results, but no one wants daily discipline. We've bought into the lie that if it doesn't come quick, it's not meant to be. But hear this truth loud and clear. God honors consistency more than intensity. A single burst of energy won't take you far, but 1,000 quiet, committed steps will change your life forever. What would happen if you stopped chasing breakthroughs and started building habits? What would shift in your life if you stopped asking for big moments and started mastering the small ones? What kind of person would you become if you treated daily obedience as sacred, even when no one else noticed? Too many people are trying to force success without first building a strong foundation. And let me tell you, a skyscraper isn't built on soft sand. It's built on deep, unshakable consistency. So if you're praying for elevation, ask yourself this: can your habits handle the weight of your destiny? Because inconsistency will always sabotage your anointing. You can be called, you can be chosen, you can be anointed, but if you don't show up with discipline, you'll delay what God wants to do through you. Every time you quit, you reset your momentum. Every time you stop, you start over. And every time you rely on emotion, you miss out on the power of endurance. So no, this isn't about being perfect. It's not about being the best. It's about being faithful, being dependable, being someone who shows up over and over, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when nothing is changing yet. Because the truth is, the people who change the world are not always the loudest. They're just the ones who didn't quit. You want greatness? Build it brick by brick, hour by hour, day by day. Be faithful in the small, and you will be trusted with the great. That's how foundations are laid. That's how giants are built. That's how mountains are moved, through consistency, relentless, unseen, daily consistency. Let's be real. How many times have your emotions talked you out of your destiny? How many mornings have you said, I just don't feel like it, and rolled back under the covers, knowing full well there was something important you were supposed to build, pursue, or complete? How many dreams have died not because of a lack of potential, but because the person carrying them was waiting to feel ready? Let me tell you a hard truth. Your emotions are real, but they are not reliable. They are valid, but they are not your voice of truth. They are loud, but they should never be allowed to drive. We live in a generation that has glorified emotion over obedience. We've elevated the voice of how we feel above the call to do what is right. But listen closely. Greatness doesn't wait for a mood. Purpose doesn't bow to feelings. Victory doesn't show up just because you're inspired. It shows up when you're disciplined, especially on the days you're not. You weren't called to be ruled by your feelings. You were created to lead them. You were not made to obey your mood swings. You were made to anchor your soul in truth, discipline, and unshakable purpose. You don't have to feel motivated to be consistent. You don't have to feel strong to move forward. You don't even have to feel inspired to take action. You just need to decide. Because when you lead by feelings, you live in cycles. But when you lead by commitment, you build momentum. And momentum is what separates those who dream from those who do. Emotions are seasonal. They change with the weather, the sleep schedule, the comment section, or a single conversation. One moment you're up, the next you're doubting everything. That's why people who rely on how they feel rarely finish anything. They start with fire, but they burn out before they build anything. But those who lead their emotions, those who wake up tired but move anyway, feel discouraged but believe anyway, feel unseen but keep sowing anyway, those are the people who break through. Those are the ones who go the distance. Let me ask you something personal. How long will you let your feelings delay your future? How many more mornings will you ignore the voice of your higher self because your feelings aren't in agreement yet? How long will you keep losing to your own excuses? You were not created to be led by your weaker voice. That's the voice of the flesh, the voice of comfort, of compromise, of maybe tomorrow. But there's a stronger voice inside you, the voice of discipline, the voice of vision, the voice that says, I will not bow to how I feel. I will rise. I will build. I will obey, even if I don't feel like it today. The enemy knows he doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to distract you with emotion. He doesn't need to take away your potential. He just needs to keep you addicted to your comfort zone. As long as you're waiting to feel like it, you'll stay where you are. But the moment you stop letting your feelings lead, you become unstoppable. There's power in choosing action over emotion. There's power in saying, I don't feel strong, but I'll act like I am. Because every time you choose discipline, you weaken the voice of doubt. Every time you override your feelings, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you show up, regardless of mood, you break a chain that's held you back for years. You are not your feelings. You are not your laziness. You are not your fear. You are not your doubt. You are called. You are capable. You are equipped. And it's time you stopped waiting to feel like it and started moving like you believe it. We've heard the word discipline so often that we've reduced it to something cold, rigid, or simply a routine of self-help check boxes. But what if I told you that discipline is far more than a habit? It's a spiritual weapon. Yes, a weapon, a sword, a force of resistance against every lie that tries to keep you small, stuck, and seduced by comfort. Because let's be honest, your greatest battle is rarely on the outside. It's not the people around you. It's not even the lack of time or opportunity. It's the war within. The part of you that wants to rise is constantly clashing with the part of you that wants to rest. And that's where discipline steps in. Discipline is how you fight back. It's how you wage war against delay. It's how you silence the excuses and say, no, I will not sit this one out. You need to understand this. Discipline isn't just physical effort. It's not just a morning routine or a schedule. It is spiritual alignment. It is agreement with the calling that's been placed on your life. When you practice discipline, you are saying, God, I may not feel ready, but I trust your assignment more than I trust my emotions. Some people think discipline is harsh or legalistic, but in truth, discipline is love in action. It's the refusal to let yourself be ruled by things beneath your purpose. It's the maturity to say no to the things that satisfy you temporarily so you can walk into the things that will sustain you eternally. Do you think David defeated Goliath by accident? No. He was trained in private through years of shepherding, swinging stones at lions and bears when no one was watching. That's discipline. That's preparation. That's consistency becoming a weapon. And when his moment came, he didn't need a crown, a title, or even armor. He had something stronger. He had the muscle of discipline, trained through obedience. Discipline sharpens your focus. It anchors your faith. It reminds your flesh that you don't take orders from feelings. You take orders from purpose. Let me tell you something personal. There will be days when your flesh screams louder than your vision, when your body says, just quit, when your mind says, this is pointless, when everything in you begs to take the easy way out. And it's in those exact moments that you have a choice. Do I bow to my craving or do I obey my calling? And if you haven't made that decision ahead of time, your flesh will always win. That's why discipline is not a reaction. It's a preparation. It's waking up every day and saying, I've already decided. I will not negotiate with weakness today. Discipline is the gatekeeper between potential and fulfillment. You may have a dream, a vision, a fire in your heart, but if you don't build discipline, that dream stays stuck in the realm of possibility. God may have given you the promise, but discipline is how you carry the promise to completion. Let that settle deep. Discipline is how you steward what heaven gave you. It's how you prove faithful with the little, how you train for the weight of what's coming. Because the more God wants to do through you, the more disciplined you'll have to become, not just to avoid distraction, but to protect what He placed inside of you. And this isn't just about showing up early or working out or finishing tasks. It's about becoming a vessel that can carry impact. It's about becoming someone who doesn't collapse under pressure, someone who doesn't flinch when storms come, someone who stands firm, not because they're special, but because they've been forged in the fire of discipline. So the next time you feel like quitting, the next time your flesh says, just take it easy, the next time you hear that subtle whisper of compromise, remember, discipline is not restriction, it is protection. It is alignment, it is power. And it is the weapon that will carry you where motivation never could. What if I told you that your future isn't hidden in a distant event, but buried in your daily choices? We often think greatness shows up in big moments. One divine opportunity, one lucky break, one breakthrough that changes everything. But that's not the truth. The truth is, what you do every single day is what shapes who you become forever. It's not the grand declarations you make once a year. It's the quiet decisions you repeat every morning. It's not the dream you shout about. It's the discipline you live out. Because your destiny is never created in a day. It's created daily. There's a reason you feel stuck, a reason you keep circling the same mountain, facing the same frustrations, living with the same regrets. It's not that you're not called. It's not that you lack talent or intelligence. It's that your daily actions are not aligned with your eternal assignment. You can't pray for purpose while living in patterns that contradict it. You can't ask for transformation while remaining addicted to habits that keep you bound. You can't expect fruit from seeds you never planted. Every single day you're planting something. Every thought, every habit, every word, every choice, it's a seed. And you don't get to skip harvest. You don't get to reap what you wished you sowed. You only reap what you actually did. And that's why this message is so important, because we are being shaped right now, not by what we hope to do someday, but by what we are doing today. If you scroll more than you study, don't be surprised when your mind is scattered. If you complain more than you create, don't be shocked when your joy dries up. If you sleep through your purpose, don't wonder why your dreams never wake up. Because what you do with your ordinary days is what determines your extraordinary life. We've got to break the lie that our future lives in tomorrow. No, your future is being built in this moment. And the most spiritual thing you can do today might not be something loud or glamorous. It might be waking up early, keeping your word, finishing that task, praying when you're tired, pushing when you feel flat, showing up when no one is clapping. Those small things, they're not small to God, because He sees consistency. He sees faithfulness. He sees what's done in secret, and He honors it openly. So many people want a big calling, but they ignore their daily assignments. They ask God for mountains, but neglect the path that leads to them. But hear me, if you won't be consistent in private, you won't be trusted in public. If you won't master Monday, you won't be ready for your miracle. And if you won't honor today, you'll miss the doorway to tomorrow. Let me say it like this: eternity is shaped by your routine. The character you carry into your future is forged in your daily fire. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become disciplined, confident, impactful, anointed. No, you train for that. You decide today and tomorrow and again the day after that. That means you have power right now. Yes, right now. Even if your life feels chaotic, even if you failed in the past, even if you're starting over, you can begin today by doing one thing, then another, then another. Because destiny doesn't demand perfection, it demands devotion. And devotion is proved in your daily decisions. The enemy wants to keep you thinking one day, But your breakthrough isn't in one day. It's in day one. And every day after that. So what are you doing with your days? Are you building your future or wasting it? Are you feeding your faith or numbing your soul? Are you preparing for the life you prayed for or procrastinating it? You don't need more motivation. You need a mirror. Look at your habits. Look at your priorities. Look at your choices. Because if you can change your day, you can change your life. And if you can change your life, you can change eternity. Excuses are seductive. They wear the disguise of logic, the mask of fairness, the sound of reason. They come softly. You're tired. You've already done enough. You'll start tomorrow. But make no mistake, excuses are the enemies of your calling. They don't show up to comfort you. They show up to control you. They don't show up to protect your peace. They show up to paralyze your purpose. Because here's the hard truth. As long as you make room for excuses, you will never walk in power. Power requires pressure. Power demands resistance. And power is only unlocked when you stop negotiating with comfort and start confronting your limits. We live in a world trained to cater to feelings. Do what feels right. Follow your truth. If it's too hard, maybe it's not for you. But let me ask you something. Has comfort ever changed your life? Has ease ever birthed greatness in you? Have soft paths ever taken you to high places? Excuses are the language of delay. They sound smart. They feel justified. But every time you say, I'll do it later, you are pushing your breakthrough further down the road, and you are training yourself to submit to weakness. Now, don't get it wrong. Excuses often make sense. They sound reasonable. You're tired. You've had a long day. You've been hurt. You weren't raised with advantage. You're dealing with pressure no one else sees. But the question is not whether your excuse makes sense. The question is, will your excuse build your future? Because excuses might explain your pain, but they'll never empower your purpose. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they must decide, will I let my past dictate my pace? Will I let my feelings guide my future? Will I stay small because it's safer? Or will I rise because I was made for more? Power comes to those who push, not to those who coast, not to those who wait for perfect timing, but to those who say, even if I'm tired, I'll take one more step. Even if I'm scared, I'll show up again. Even if I failed yesterday, I'm getting back up today. And here's what's wild. The moment you push past your excuse, you feel something shift inside. You discover that you're stronger than you thought. You realize the wall wasn't a wall, it was just your will being tested. And when you break through, you begin to build momentum. You start to remember who you really are. You were not created to be led by weakness. You were not born to obey fear. You were not designed to live at half capacity, running circles around your potential. No, you were built to break the limits. You were called to stretch beyond the line of comfort. And it starts the moment you say, I will not let this excuse be the author of my story. Look around at the people you admire. Every one of them had a reason to quit. Every one of them had a list of valid excuses. But the difference? They didn't let those excuses define their decisions. They got up. They moved forward. They kept showing up. And now they stand on stages you've been praying to reach. The same power is in you, but it's waiting on the other side of resistance. You will never know what you're capable of until you do the thing you've convinced yourself you can't. So the next time the excuse shows up, the next time you hear it's not the right time, you're too tired and it's too hard, you've already tried, pause, take a breath, and push. Push past the comfort. Push past the fear. Push past the story you've been telling yourself for years. Because your power is not found in your excuse, it's found in your push. Let me tell you something that will never fail to prove true. You will never regret showing up. You might regret being lazy. You might regret postponing your goals. You might regret talking yourself out of another opportunity, another responsibility, another chance to grow. But showing up, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, that's the one thing you'll never look back on with shame. And yet so many people hesitate. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right time. They wait for the conditions to be perfect, the emotions to line up, the energy to come back. But what they don't realize is that the very act of showing up is what builds the fire they're waiting on. Success doesn't require that you feel amazing every day. It doesn't demand that you be at your best all the time. It just requires that you keep showing up when it's inconvenient, when it's awkward, when it feels like nothing is working. Because something is working. You're building trust with yourself. You're telling your body, your mind, your spirit, I'm serious about where I'm going. And that matters more than any single result. Listen, every time you show up, you're taking ground. Even if it doesn't look like progress on the outside, something's shifting on the inside. You're stretching your faith. You're strengthening your will. You're creating muscle memory for resilience. There are days you won't want to wake up early, but if you show up, your future self will thank you. There are workouts you'll dread, journal entries you'll postpone, prayers you'll put off, books you'll avoid, goals you'll delay. But every time you ignore that hesitation and just do it anyway, you are becoming the person you were born to be. That person, the one with fire in their eyes and strength in their soul, isn't built in excitement. They're built in consistency. They're built in repetition. They're built when you decide, I'll go again. When you say, I don't feel it, but I'll be faithful anyway. When you whisper, this hurts, but I'm here, I'm not quitting. That moment, that very moment, is the birthplace of character. It's where destiny takes root. It's where transformation begins. Not in the spotlight, but in the silence. Not in applause, but in private. Not when it's easy, but when it's a fight. You see, too many people expect to feel good about progress before they commit to action. But the real ones, the ones who rise, lead, and change the world, they show up first, and the emotion catches up later. Motivation follows movement, and clarity follows obedience. Sometimes the simple act of getting dressed, walking into the room, opening the laptop, saying the prayer, stepping onto the stage, showing up at the gym, writing one more paragraph, completing one more rep, that's the victory, not the outcome, the presence, the push, the proof that you're not giving up. It's not about being the best. It's not about outperforming anyone else. It's not about being loud or fast or flawless. It's about being faithful. Because you can't be transformed by a process you don't consistently participate in. You can't win the race if you keep walking off the track. You can't reach the promise if you don't keep walking toward it, no matter how long it takes, no matter how slow it feels. And every day you show up, you're sending a message to the enemy, to your fear, to your old habits, to the voice in your head that says, you'll never change. You're saying, watch me, try and stop me. I'm not here to be perfect, I'm here to persevere. I'm not here to quit, I'm here to grow. I'm not here to impress, I'm here to become. So remember this, you will never regret showing up. You will only regret the days you didn't. And the longer you wait, the further you drift. But the more you show up, the closer you get to the life you know is waiting for you on the other side of your discipline. There's something powerful, something spiritual that happens when a person begins to live on purpose. Not randomly, not impulsively, not half-heartedly, but with intentionality, with focus, with direction, with commitment to align their actions with their assignment. You see, so many people are waiting for God to do something big in their life. They're waiting for a sign, waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for open doors, waiting for divine intervention. But what they don't realize is that God often waits for you to move first, on purpose, with purpose. Intentionality is not about perfection. It's not about having every detail figured out. It's not about being the smartest or fastest or strongest. It's about waking up every day and choosing to walk in the direction of your calling, even if it's one small, quiet step at a time. And when you begin to live like that, when your decisions match your destiny, when your habits line up with your vision, when your schedule reflects your purpose, heaven takes notice. God doesn't anoint laziness. He doesn't bless indecision. He doesn't breathe on procrastination, but He does empower the one who moves with faith. He does pour strength on the one who shows up with consistency. He does respond to the one who says, Lord, I may not be enough in myself, but I'm willing, I'm moving, I'm not wasting my days anymore. Intentionality is not just about action, it's about alignment. It's about saying, I will no longer live according to the mood of the moment. I will live according to the mission I've been given. And when you do that, your life becomes fertile ground for miracles. Because listen, God partners with movement. He multiplies what you give Him. He breathes on what you bring. But if you keep handing Him your leftovers, your indecision, your distractions, how can He multiply what's never been planted? You can't be passive and expect to walk in power. You can't keep drifting and expect direction. You can't live accidentally and expect intentional results. Let me ask you something straight. What in your life right now is being done on purpose? What are you building, not just wishing for? What are you feeding that aligns with your future, not just your feelings? What are you saying no to, not because it's bad, but because it's not part of the mission? Intentionality is war against mediocrity. It is choosing structure over chaos. It is choosing focus over noise. It is choosing destiny over distraction. And this world is full of distractions, good things, fun things, loud things, urgent things. But not everything that's loud is important, and not everything that's urgent is eternal. When you start living with intention, you start walking differently. You begin to protect your time. You begin to honor your responsibilities. You begin to value your energy. And when you do that, God begins to release more wisdom, more clarity, more strength, more opportunity. Why? Because He can trust you to carry it. You're no longer tossed by emotions or held back by old habits. You're building brick by brick, step by step, with your eyes fixed on what matters most. And when you live like that, you activate heaven. Your consistency becomes faith in action. Your discipline becomes worship. Your movement becomes partnership with the divine. Some people are still stuck because they're still living by default, just going through the motions, letting the day tell them who to be. But you weren't made for that. You were made to walk with purpose, with fire, with focus, with heaven behind you and destiny ahead of you. Don't wait for the right mood. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for a sign in the clouds. Move intentionally, boldly, consistently, faithfully, because God is ready to pour out favor, to release strength, to open doors. But He moves when you move with intentionality. So now you've heard it. Every excuse, every weakness, every emotional dip, every tired moment, it's all been addressed. And now the choice is yours. Because the truth is, nothing changes until you do. Not your situation, not your results, not your future, and certainly not your purpose. Consistency is the key, the missing piece. The uncelebrated secret of every life that rises from ordinary to extraordinary. You can have dreams, you can have vision, you can even have anointing, but if you don't have discipline, you will never have results. And let me remind you, consistency doesn't come from feeling inspired. It comes from being anchored in purpose. You may not feel strong, but you can still show up. You may not feel ready, but you can still take the step. You may not feel qualified, but God never called the qualified. He qualifies the consistent. You've been waiting for the perfect time. This is it. You've been waiting to feel ready. You won't. You've been waiting for motivation to stay. It won't. So stop waiting and start moving. Consistency is not glamorous. It's quiet. It's simple. It's hard, but it is transformational. Because every time you show up, you're telling your flesh, you don't lead me. Every time you override your excuses, you're telling your past, you don't define me. Every time you move intentionally, you're telling your destiny, I'm coming for you. You don't need a new dream. You need to honor the one you already have. You don't need a new door. You need to prove faithful at the one you're already standing in front of. You don't need more motivation. You need more movement. So force yourself to rise early. Force yourself to keep going. Force yourself to pray, to plan, to push, to believe. And know this, when you force yourself to be consistent, God will force open doors no man can shut. He will make ways in the wilderness. He will pour strength into your weakness. He will breathe on your efforts, multiply your seeds, and establish your steps. Because God honors the consistent. He promotes the disciplined. He anoints the faithful. You don't have to be the most gifted. You don't have to be the most impressive. You just have to be the one who didn't quit. So be that one. Be the one who shows up. Be the one who keeps going. Be the one who forces themselves to stay consistent until the breakthrough comes. And it will come.